Big Bang Theory is the leading explanation about how the universe began. This early light, sometimes called afterglow. It is more probably known as the cosmic microwave background or CMB.
Our Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Within these days, is there new and shocking discoveries in our Earth or in solar system found by NASA?
What is the meaning of these new discoveries?
Is this the meaning of the end of the world?
Or just created by God to make us appreciate their beauty?
This is how the universe began. Evolution and discoveries of the solar system.
The beginning of everything, the Big Bang. The idea that the universe was suddenly born and is not infinite. Up to the middle of the 20th century, most scientists thought of the universe as infinite and ageless. Until Einstein's theory of relativity gave us a better understanding of gravity, and Edwin Hubble discovered that galaxies are moving apart from one another in a way that fits previous predictions. In 1964, by accident, cosmic background radiation was discovered, a relic of the early universe, which together with other observational evidence made the Big Bang the accepted theory in science. Since then, improved technology like the Hubble telescope has given us a pretty good picture of the Big Bang and the structure of the cosmos. Recent observations even seem to suggest that the expansion of the universe is accelerating. But how did this Big Bang work? How can something come from nothing? Let's explore what we know. We can ignore the beginning part for now. First of all, the Big Bang was not an explosion. It was all space, stretching everywhere, all at once. The universe started very, very, very small and quickly expanded to the size of a football. The universe didn't expand into anything, space was just expanding into itself. The universe cannot expand into anything because the universe has no borders. There is, by definition, no outside the universe. The universe is all there is. In this hot, dense environment, energy manifested itself in particles that existed only for the tiniest glimpses of time. From gluons, pairs of quarks were created, which destroyed one another, perhaps after giving off more gluons. These found other short-lived quarks to interact with, forming new quark pairs and gluons again. Matter and energy were not just theoretically equivalent, it was so hot they were practically the same stuff. Somewhere around this time, matter won over antimatter. Today, we're left with almost all matter and nearly no antimatter at all. Somehow, 1,000,000,001 matter particles were formed for every 1,000,000,000 particles of antimatter. Instead of one massive ultimate force in the universe, there were now several refined versions of it acting under different rules. By now, the universe has stretched to 1 billion kilometers in diameter, which leads to a decrease in temperature. The cycle of quarks being born and converted back to energy suddenly stops. From now on, we work with what we have. Quarks begin forming new particles, hadrons, like protons and neutrons. There are many, many combinations of quarks that can form all sorts of hadrons, but only very few are reasonably stable for any length of time. Please take a moment to appreciate that by now, only 1 second has passed since the beginning of everything. The universe, which has grown to 100 billion kilometers, is now cold enough to allow most of the neutrons to decay into protons and form the first atom, hydrogen. Imagine the universe at this point as an extremely hot soup, 10 billion degrees Celsius, filled with countless particles and energy. Over the next few minutes, things cooled and settled down very fast. Atoms formed out of hadrons and electrons, making for a stable and electrically neutral environment. Some call this period the Dark Age because there were no stars and the hydrogen gas didn't allow visible light to move around. But what's the meaning of visible light anyway, when there's nothing alive yet that could have eyes? When the hydrogen gas clumped together after millions of years and gravity put it under great pressure, stars and galaxies began to form. Their radiation dissolved the stable hydrogen gas into a plasma that still permeates the universe today and allows visible light to pass. Finally, there was light. Okay, But what about the part we didn't talk about? What happened right at the beginning? This part can be defined as the Big Bang. We don't know at all what happened here. At this point, our tools break down. Natural laws stop making sense. Time itself becomes wibbly-wobbly. To understand what happened here, we need a theory that unifies Einstein's relativity and quantum mechanics, something countless scientists are working on right now. But this leaves us with lots of unanswered questions. Were there universes before our own? Is this the first and only universe? What started the Big Bang, or did it just occur naturally based on laws we don't understand yet? We don't know, and maybe we never will. But what we do know is that the universe as we know it started here and gave birth to particles, galaxies, stars, the Earth, and you. Since we ourselves are made of dead stars, we are not separate from the universe. We are part of it. You could even say that we are the universe's way of experiencing itself. So let's keep on experiencing it until there are no more questions to ask.
If you've always been interested in outer space, here is the news for you.
According to the article, an optical illusion of halo around the sun that was witnessed over Lingayen, Pangasinan got some people nervous.
It's unbelievable, right? Let's ask the citizens of Lingayen. Nicole?
Yes, Kyla. As you can see, this is the place where the appearance of the sun or crown around the sun. And we are here today to interview some citizens who witnessed this kind of discovery in our planet. Can you describe what you saw that day, miss?
That day, the sun went dark and
Yes, then we ran out. And we found out that the sun has its halo around it.
If you were to pick Saturn out of a lineup, you'd probably recognize it by its iconic rings. They're the biggest, brightest rings in our solar system, extending over 280,000 kilometers from the planet, wide enough to fit 6 Earths in a row. But Saturn won't always look this way because its rings are disappearing. That's right, Saturn is losing its rings, and fast. Much faster, even, than scientists had first thought. Right now, it's raining 10,000 kilograms of ring rain on Saturn per second, fast enough to fill an Olympic-sized pool in half an hour. This rain is actually the disintegrated remains of Saturn's rings. Saturn's rings are mostly made up of chunks of ice and rock, which are under constant bombardment, some by UV radiation from the sun and others by tiny meteoroids. When these collisions take place, the icy particles vaporize, forming charged water molecules that interact with Saturn's magnetic field, ultimately falling towards Saturn, where they burn up in the atmosphere. We've known about ring rain since the 1980s, when NASA's Voyager mission first noticed mysterious dark bands that turned out to be ring rain caught in Saturn's magnetic fields. Back then, researchers estimated the rings would totally drain in 300 million years. But observations by NASA's former Cassini spacecraft give a darker prognosis. Before its death dive into Saturn in 2017, Cassini managed to get a better look at the amount of ring dust raining on Saturn's equator, and discovered that it was raining heavier than previously thought. Scientists calculated the rings had only 100 million years left to live. It's tough to imagine a ringless Saturn, but for much of its existence, the planet was as naked as Earth. While Saturn first formed around 4.5 billion years ago, studies suggest the rings are only 100 to 200 million years old tops. That's younger than some dinosaurs. So when you think about it, we're pretty lucky we happen to be around to see those magnificent rings. Really lucky, in fact. Because efforts to study those rings have led us to other discoveries. For example, as Cassini explored Saturn's moon Enceladus, it uncovered a trail of ice and gas leading back to Saturn's E-ring. Enceladus is the whitest, most reflective moon in our solar system. The moon is constantly gushing out gas and dust. Some of it ends up in space and in Saturn's E-ring, while the rest drifts back onto the moon's surface, creating a blinding white field of snow. Who knows what other discoveries might be hiding within the rings? At the very least, it's clear we'd better keep looking while we still can.
In the future, Saturn without ring is so weird.
Well, it's losing its ring just because it's on orbit, so it doesn't mean it to stay there forever.
It's really upsetting. Saturn won't be Saturn without its ring.
Ringless Saturn? That was shocking.
Saturn has been the most beautiful planet for me, with or without its ring.
Is this because of global warming? This is so sad.
New discovery of our solar system, but the sad thing is this beautiful planet is going to lose its ring.
7 days left until we can see the opposition of the Saturn. The second largest planet on our solar system will be at its closest point to Earth on July 9, 2019 at 7:06 p.m. to 4:49 a.m. The next day, making it appear at its brightest and largest.
For the rest of 2019, Saturn will remain with the constellation Sagittarius, the Anchor.